Hey guys, welcome to NFL week number 3, breaking down a pair of 0-2 teams that both made the playoffs. So what do I have to do? I have to go to the database and give you the obligatory, yeah, I can sure say that word. What happens when a team is 0-2? Well, since 1990, only 11.5% of the teams that started 0-2 went on to make the playoffs. The Bengals, of course, did it last year, so not impossible, but a lot of pressure. And I'll tell you what, no one else has more pressure than Staley does on him now. He was blasted on social media with Charger fans calling for his head and for him to lose the job. We'll see what happens. I also went to the database to see in week number 3 what happens when a pair of 0-2 teams meet and the home team only 40% against the spread in that situation. But that does not have me lean Minnesota. I just want to make you aware of it. So what do the Chargers do? They're in a great game against Miami. They can't move the ball late. They lose. What happens against Tennessee? They go on the road. They're winning that game. They're covering the spread. They end up giving up a late score, cannot advance on third downs late, lose in overtime. Minnesota, again, start the season off with a loss to Tampa Bay, 20-17. They actually had a 369 to 242 yard edge in that game. So that loss, not quite as bad. What happened in that game? They were -3 turnovers. So the Vikings' loss against Tampa Bay clearly can be explained in that situation. We look at last week against Philadelphia. Obviously, you're playing a quality team on the road. They gave up 430 yards, but the offense was productive. 374 total yards. Cousins, 364 yards. It's not often that you see a 4-0 touchdown to interception ratio and your team turn the ball over 4 times. There's normally more interceptions than fumbles, but to have 4 fumbles lost in that situation with Cousins having a big game, you see the reason the Vikings are 0-2. Clearly, the worst turnover margin in the NFL to start. So, do I think Cousins and their one-dimensional offense passing can move the ball on the Chargers? I do. We've seen the Chargers defense struggle. Your cornerbacks, Asante Samuels and Michael Davis, looked horrible the last few weeks. Now, granted, they're going to go into a nickel, obviously, with Jefferson. I think you're going to double team Jefferson. Minnesota has not run the ball well. So if Minnesota can run the ball, they're going to have the advantage. You see what San Diego has done. Again, this Chargers team, to me, Herbert puts up great numbers when not under pressure and not in those last couple minutes this game. Minnesota played all those close games last year. Remember, they had 8 close wins. Those are wins by 7 points or less. Now, unfortunately, those things do turn back, and you see they have 2 close losses, those by 7 points or less. But I think the Chargers, the vibe I get is the Chargers players like Staley. Sometimes when the media and the fan base starts to attack a coach, it can meld the players into a position. So I look at this. Minnesota, much better or more accustomed to playing close games. The Chargers, 2 very disappointing close losses for a season to spread. In this role, I like Minnesota in the first half. Now, the Chargers have played well in the first half and poor in the second. But when I match these 2 teams up, I think San Diego Chargers, I think the LA Chargers have to do more to make an adjustment on Jefferson than the Minnesota defense has to do on the Chargers offense. So early in the game with the first couple plays scripted, I'll lean Minnesota first quarter. I like Minnesota a little bit more first half. For the full game, I'm going to lean on the over. I think both teams at 0-2 have a lot of pressure on them to move the ball, to try some trick plays, to make sure you're not that team that starts 0-3. But my official best bet here on the show, Minnesota first half with these pair of 0-2 teams. Ralph 3, if you want to try my 3-day weekend, guys, only $55, saves you regular price $69. Smash that like button. Check out these great Wager Talk videos in college football and the NFL. You'll be glad you did till you prepare yourself for this weekend of football.